In the latest chapter of One Piece, chapter 989, the Straw Hat Pirates, all of them, including Jinbei, finally unite on a single page, and they are ready to frontman this whole operation against Kaido. And they're coming in hot. And Big Mom has, for the time being, been put to the side, and the Straw Hats, now facing down numbers, King the Wildfire and Queen the Plague, are going to assist their captain, Monkey D. Luffy, in getting up to where Kaido is located. Now, this latest chapter was very controversial because Big Mom, once again, fails to meet certain expectations in terms of power, in terms of wit, in terms of many different factors that we would expect Big Mom to have filled out, considering her prestige and her might as a Yonko. Big Mom was thoroughly duped, where Frankie doesn't fear her at all, which kind of coincides with Jinbei not fearing Big Mom. Jinbei didn't fear Big Mom because ultimately he's a crew member of the future Pirate King, and Frankie was the same way. Jinbei saves Frankie with a Fishman Judo move. This combos with Robin's Millefleur Delphilium, the name I'm probably butchering, but you can see how Jinbei and Robin are comboing very nicely. So Jinbei already on point when it comes to the combos of the crew, and then they wheel Big Mom literally out of the area. Literally out of the area. And so this sparked a very heated debate among myself and the 2-3 Cats on Twitch, where, essentially speaking, Oda really does tend to shaft Big Mom in more ways than one. And he has done so repeatedly throughout this arc and the previous arc. And I can understand, trust me, I'm a Big Mom fan. And as a Big Mom fan, seeing Big Mom getting thwarted time and time again in the manner in which it's happening, where it's very goofy, very awkward, very clumsy, at times very aggravating, where she gets thwarted by King the Wildfire, gets knocked off their ship, and then when we next see her, she's all in. And then she's being manipulated by Chopper and Otama and Okiku. And as someone who is on the same caliber as legends like Whitebeard, Kaido, Shanks, she herself being a legendary figure, it just really throws you off in more ways than one. And the latest chapter is another example of Big Mom really, at the end of the day, not doing so hot. And as a Big Mom fan, it does really irk me to see Big Mom in that state. I ain't gonna front. However, I want to focus more so on the Straw Hat side of things rather than the Big Mom side of things. Because I still gave the chapter, in my book, a 7 out of 10. It was a good chapter for me. Even though Big Mom continues to fall short in many ways, I think more so than Big Mom falling short, it's the Straw Hats elevating themselves in a big way. And mind you, Big Mom, at the end of the day, is virtually fine. They do no damage to Big Mom, so her main feature, her main aspect as a fighter, as a Yonko, is still intact in terms of her combat skills. They did all this stuff to Big Mom, and Big Mom has taken essentially no damage from any of that stuff. And Big Mom did get Zeus back in the last chapter, 988, which does please me. But we have to also understand that the Straw Hats are not scrubs. The Straw Hats are the real deal in terms of their combat prowess. And granted, throughout most of the post-time skip, it's kind of hard to gauge because, in particular, the captain, Monkey D. Luffy, has been struggling immensely when it comes to certain opponents like Doflamingo, where he needed essentially Gats to come in there to stall Dofi to then finally get that Gear 4 back to defeat Dofi. Then you have Cracker, where it was Luffy plus Nami tag teaming. And then finally with Katakuri, where Katakuri could have beaten Luffy like 3 or 4 times, but chose not to for his own reasons. There are so many asterisks on Luffy's fights. And then the other Straw Hats in the post-time skip are good, but because Luffy himself, who leads the charge for the Straw Hat Pirates, is struggling against people that are far weaker than Yonko, in a way you can argue it doesn't mesh with the current continuity of the story, where the Straw Hats are thwarting Yonko. The Straw Hats themselves, we know that Zoro and Sanji have gotten power-ups in terms of the raid suit and in Enma. Nami got a power-up, though she lost one in Zeus, but she had the new climb attack that she got in Zou. Usopp actually had his Haki bloom awaken in Dressrosa when it comes to his observation Haki. So some of the Straw Hats over the course of the time skip have improved in various ways. But the key thing here is this: we've never really seen the full capabilities of the Straw Hats. And that's something that we have to really recognize. We've never seen the full capabilities of the Straw Hat Pirates in terms of what they can accomplish as a unit from a power standpoint. Which is why when we see them thwart Yonko, it can be a bit odd, because we haven't really seen what they could accomplish as a unit in the entirety of the post-time skip until now. On Fishman Island, we see what they can do, but Horty Jones and the Fishmen, they're not really that great. They're really not. And for a quick memory jump, Hyuzo, who's one of the top guys, the top adversaries during that arc, got called a frog in the well by Zoro because Zoro coasted him. Zoro, he washed Hyuzo. It wasn't a big deal. Now that Jinbei's in the clique, who's a former Shichibukai, Jinbei is the same guy that coasted Gecko Moria. Gecko Moria, in more ways than one, was a struggle for the Straw Hat crew back in the pre-time skip. Recall the moment when Moria and Luffy first met, and before Oars, Moria was just chilling, sitting back, watching Oars Luffy go chaotic throughout the entire area. And then Luffy is fighting against that Gecko Moria. Gecko Moria was looking pretty fierce, very confident, duping Monkey D. Luffy. He just had his shadow do all the work, he did the bat stuff, and even though Luffy did get a shot or two on Moria, Moria was looking pretty good. And then we jump from Thriller Bark to Marineford War, and in Marineford War, Jinbei coast Gecko Moria. It was embarrassing. And that man, Jinbei, who could block the attacks of Akainu, who knocked Big Mom off of the Sun Ego, that Jinbei is now in the Straw Hat Pirates. And arguably speaking, Sanji and Zoro got power-ups because Jinbei was coming into the crew. So Jinbei is an excellent addition to the crew. We've never seen the full scope of Frankie and the Frankie Shogun. Usopp went through an actual Haki bloom in Dressrosa, and it's really safe to say that Usopp is going to improve his observation Haki over the course of the series. And when we see that one scene when they're going on to Shima, and there's a bunch of people that are partying, and Usopp knocks them out, like easy peasy, like don't worry about it guys. That could have been his Haki, his observation Haki kicking in. Robin and Nami have been relatively okay, but not necessarily great. But Robin and Nami can combo very, very well. Like, when you think about the Straw Hats and Thriller Bark, when you make the comparison, because you can make a lot of comparisons between this arc and Thriller Bark, of course you could. The power of the Straw Hats individually was nowhere near enough to handle Oars Luffy. Oars Luffy was disgustingly powerful, but together, they were able to get the job done in so many ways. They still ultimately lost to that Oars Luffy with Mori in tow, and then they needed Nightmare Luffy to come in there and do major damage. The Straw Hats are far more effective and far more efficient when they work in a group. And it's been a very, very long time since we've seen the Straw Hats work together as a group. Because when they were together as a group, their powers don't add, they multiply. When they start doing combos, their powers multiply as a group collectively. So the Straw Hats being able to thwart a Yonko, not damage a Yonko, they didn't damage Big Mom, they didn't really hurt Big Mom. Big Mom was relatively fine. She got back up from Frankie's motorcycle charge like, you brats keep on coming at me over and over and over again. Now it's time. But yet they were able to thwart her and put it to the side. The Straw Hats couldn't do it individually, like Jinbei or Robin or Nami or Brook. They couldn't do it individually, but as a group, they can definitely do it. Especially, again, when you have the new member, Jinbei, someone that prestigious and that powerful, join your crew. A Shichibukai, former Shichibukai, is now in your clique. That has to be respected. And even though I hate to admit it, because I really do, on Whole Cake Island, you could argue that because Nami and Brook and Chopper and Jinbei were able to thwart a nerfed, I would argue a nerfed Big Mom when she first landed on the ship, then you could say that, well, there's already an onus for the Straw Hats being able to do that to Yonko since Whole Cake Island. And even though, for obvious reasons, we've underestimated the Straw Hats in more ways than one, a lot of them have improved over the course of this time skip. And ultimately speaking, these people, especially in Jinbei, Sanji, and Zoro terms, these people are going to be the front runners for the future Pirate King's crew. When you think about someone like Rayleigh and how prestigious Rayleigh is, and how magnanimous, how stupendous Rayleigh is as an individual, people like Jinbei, people like Zoro, people like Sanji, people like potentially Usopp, I'd argue, in of course meme ways, these people at the end of the series, and potentially, let's say in like a One Piece sequel, Two Piece, for all we know, right? These people will, at the bare minimum, match the prestige of someone like Rayleigh. It is only inevitable that the Straw Hats get to that point. And this is the arc where they are now showing off what they can truly do in earnest. So instead, I would argue, instead of looking at it as a minus for Big Mom, it's a plus for the Straw Hat Pirates. Because the Straw Hat Pirates, as a clique together, their powers multiply. Not add, they multiply. And what they can accomplish together as a clique when they start doing the combos is some pretty fearsome stuff. And so now that Jinbei is in the crew, and we're seeing him tag team with Robin relatively well, and now that we're seeing the Straw Hats together as a group, and they have the decisive goal of getting Luffy up into the upper area where Kaido is fighting, and hopefully we're gonna see all the Straw Hats go all out in this arc, we're going to see a lot of very impressive and shocking things from the crew, especially when they start working together as certain groups within the crew, or the entire crew working as one. Instead of, oh my god, no way, that was impossible, it's going to shift from that to as expected of Jinbei, as expected of Robin, as expected of Sanji, as expected of Zoro. But because there are, of course, clear differences in power within the Straw Hat crew, we expect a lot more from Frankie and from Robin and from Zoro and from Sanji compared to, let's say, Nami or Chopper. That's a given. I would say starting from this arc forward, now that we know because of Shonen Jump comments, because of Oda's comments, because of the editor's comments, we know that we are reaching the final stage of the story. Our expectations for the Straw Hats and what they can accomplish must rise. This is despite the fact, I would argue, despite the fact that there are clear writing and storytelling flaws that have existed in particular in the post-time skip and some of the pre-time skip too, to get us to this point. Because at the end of the day, Luffy will at least match Gold D. Roger. Therefore, his crew will at least match the Roger Pirates. I would argue, for a last point here, if we replaced Big Mom with Whitebeard, it would apply all the same. If we replaced Whitebeard or Big Mom with Kaido, it would apply all the same. Or Shanks, it would apply all the same. Not necessarily damage, but thwarting. Simply thwarting and stalling a Yonko. Can the Straw Hats as a collective do that? Yeah. Yeah. So, my hat, my non-existent fedora tips to the Straw Hat Pirates. But let me know where you stand on the subject matter at hand. Be sure to rate the video. Not that hard to do because I guarantee you all that you got a device called Zamaosu. You use Zamaosu to click, rate the video, to click, subscribe, to click on that bell to join the squad. And of course, as always, feel free to please do comment in the comment section down below. Peace and have a nice goddamn day.